Hello everybody, JGC Anime here, and today we are here to review My Hero Academia Season 6, or Boku no Hero Academia 6th Season. And I am just gonna be honest here, if you told me when I was starting this season that it would actually kind of make me tear up and that I would absolutely love it, I would have been like, what the heck are you talking about? Because, well, I've never really had like a big impact with My Hero, and I've honestly never really cared about it that much. It's always been like a meh, fine, not really too much series. Like, I didn't love it or hate it, it was just fine. But oh my goodness, I am unable to lie when I say I genuinely loved this season of My Hero. I honestly think it's my favorite season. It was just so good. It was so good. That's all I can really say about it, other than a few minor complaints. I actually can complain a little bit, but not really too much, because honestly, I loved this season. This is definitely my favorite season of My Hero so far. Like, the epicness, like the more grand kind of storytelling compared to the rest of the seasons, just everything about it just made me love it so much, and I had such an amazing time with it, and I am so glad I checked this out, because it was so good. And I'm just gonna hop right into it. So yeah, without further ado, let's just talk about what the story of the season is. So, following the events of the 5th season, the heroes now have found the location of Shigaraki, the villains, and all of that. They're ready to raid them and take them down once and for all. And that's kind of like how the story starts. We go from there, they're about to go take them down, and that's where we pick up on. And without going into spoilers and some spoiler-free thoughts, it was kind of crazy, because at the beginning of it, like the first few episodes, I honestly wasn't that into. In fact, I thought they were just kind of more of the bland old same. But as we continued, I just found myself getting more and more invested. And before I knew it, the season was over, and I was just like, what? How can that be it? But it left such an amazing impact on me. Every single character, this had such incredible development, from Midoriya, Deku, even Todoroki, as well as Endeavor. Like, all these characters got such crazy development in this season, and I can't get enough of it. It was so good. And definitely the highlight of this whole season has to be Deku, where I could talk about why in the spoiler section, but oh my goodness, this was such an incredible season. The story was more on higher scale than previous seasons. The character developments, as well as just the character interactions, were so much better. It definitely feels like we're nearing the end game of My Hero with this storyline. It definitely feels like we're nearing the end, and I am just all for it, because this season was just so amazing, and I am so happy to have checked this out. And I know I just keep complimenting it, but as I mentioned before, there is the big flaw of the first few episodes. While they were kind of interesting, I wouldn't say they left too much of an impact on me. Even this one moment, which was crazy, I didn't really feel much from it, not because I figured I wouldn't, but because it was already spoiled for me. So curse those spoilers on YouTube! But yeah, that's all I can really say about that. Just overall, I just had such an amazing time with this season. It honestly surprised me just how fantastic the story was interwoven. The characters, even Shigaraki, a character I honestly couldn't stand up to this point. Not in like a bad way. Like, he felt like a villain, someone I couldn't stand. I didn't want to see get taken down. I wanted to see him get defeated and destroyed. But now I'm a bit more conflicted, because the way he's written in this season and how he's built up this way and that, I can talk about more of it in the spoiler section, but it just astounds me just how well written everything was handled in this season. And I loved it so much. But I can't really say anything about spoilers, so we're just gonna hop into the spoiler section now. Here's a timestamp to when the spoilers are going to conclude. If you have seen season 6 of My Hero, I'd recommend sticking around to hear my thoughts. That way you can kind of get the full picture. But if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend skipping to the end so you don't get any spoilers. But again, if you have seen it, stick around. You might be interested in hearing what I have on my thoughts on some of the parts of this. But yeah, I'm gonna count up to 5, and I'm gonna enter the spoiler section. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'm just getting this right off the bat. The later storyline, after they fail to capture Shigaraki and Deku becomes like a vigilante, honestly one of my favorite storylines in all of My Hero. Like, when I first learned about this storyline, I thought it was just gonna be some crazy action-packed adventure being like the final fight against Shigaraki and All For One, but no, it was a build-up to that battle as we get to see Midoriya finally like push his limits to where he can't really get through them, and then he has to literally fight his own class just so they can get him to come back to UA. And it's honestly just such an amazing arc, to the point that when we got to the part where Bakugo finally just admits everything about how he's treated Deku and the way he sees him, I actually kind of teared up a little bit. Like, honestly, all of these moments in this arc left such an amazing impact on me. Like, every single part of this was just so incredibly well written that even though it wasn't the final battle, like, I thought the opening was kind of like teasing, which, by the way, opening, definitely one of my favorite openings of My Hero, right up there with season 4's first opening. But moving past that for now, another thing I kind of want to talk about is the character of Lady Nagant, who appears in the Deku, I call it the Vigilante storyline, or I don't know if that's what its actual name is or not, but basically Deku is a Vigilante in this arc. Honestly, when I first saw Lady Nagant, I thought she was going to be this kind of like random character that pops up, teams up with Deku maybe, and tries to help him out or something like that. But then she's not only like one of the like deadliest villains, I guess you could say. Well, she's not technically a villain, she just goes against the normal hero stuff because she doesn't see the same way everybody else does, because, you know, the big drama behind the scenes of everything involving Hero Society. But I expected her to not really have like too much of a role, and she's just kind of there to act as like the villain while Deku's in vigilante mode. But she really does add to everything, especially with how her near death, which I'm not sure if she's actually dead or not. The anime, at least in the dub, said that she is just major. Yes, I watched the dub of My Hero. Is just majorly like injured, but might recover. It's honestly amazing that she's alive. At least that's what it said. But the way she is injured and the way Deku sees her that way, and just getting so enraged by All For One and all that, it honestly did leave such an incredible impact. It just added to how amazing the arc was already. I just thought the entire story was so good, and I could probably spend like an hour just talking about how much I loved the Deku Vigilante storyline. Like, I could literally go on for hours. It's so good. I'm gonna try to just keep it short for now, but honestly, I love that arc so much. It wasn't just development for Deku, but we also get a bit before that of Todoroki and Endeavor, who have to, you know, after Dabi, who, another spoiler I got, sadly, it was revealed to be Todoroki's brother and Endeavor's son. That would have been a pretty awesome reveal had it not been spoiled for me beforehand, but it's still a pretty awesome reveal in the way it kind of impacts them. That whole development with Todoroki and Endeavor is just, it's also really good. It's just, everybody gets such incredible like character development. And then you have characters like Hawks, who, it's not easy to talk about Hawks with this whole, like, he had a pretty sad upbringing, but after that he was raised to be a person who could infiltrate the villains and take care of things. I even thought Hawks' whole episode where it dedicated a story to him was super interesting. Just everything about this gives so much more background to so many of the different characters, and I loved it so much, seeing how we got to learn more about each and every character. Although, definitely one of my favorite moments of development has to be from Bakugo, a character who I've honestly not really liked in previous seasons due to his nothing but like brash attitude. I get that was the whole point of his character, that's his personality, but seeing him finally talk to Deku and admit why he bullies him and all stuff like that, it really hit me hard. And as I mentioned before, is the moment that in the series I actually teared up a little bit, because it was just such an impactful moment, and honestly, I really loved it. It was so good. The first storyline isn't terrible, it actually is quite good. It really settles in just how dangerous the villains are. For example, Midnight, along with a lot of other heroes, all died while trying to fight the villains in the first story arc, which I actually didn't know about Midnight's death, so that came as kind of a shock to me. That actually did surprise me. That is one of the few deaths I was not spoiled on, but it definitely left a lot of an impact on me, and it really did add to the intensity of the upcoming storylines. And yeah, so going into what I was saying before, the first few episodes. Now, it's not like there aren't some good moments in the first few episodes. I found the episode where Kaminari, I believe that's his name, managed to like hold back some lightning from one of the enemies and acted as like a lightning rod to hold the enemy attacks back, and kind of showed his growth as a character. And it was just, it was good. And then there was also a moment that really would have impacted me had I not been spoiled about it, and that is the death of Twice. Honestly, I do feel bad for Twice, like being betrayed by Hawks and all that, but at the same time, I already knew it was coming. It really does ruin a story when you're getting spoiled for things, and I really wish people wouldn't spoil, but in the end, that's just how it is. And while I definitely wish it would have left a little bit more of an impact, I'm not too bothered by it. It definitely could have been a lot more of a surprise had I not been spoiled on it, but it is what it is. But moving past that for now, one of the things that did intrigue me a lot was how the League of Villains are handled in this season. Like in seasons past, they're just built up as the big destructive enemy of everything. But then in this season, it's revealed that Deku wants to save Shigaraki from All For One, who's trying to like possess Shigaraki's body and stuff. And it's super interesting with how the way they're handling things and how it actually seems like Shigaraki might be saved by Deku, which I actually think is a really good like twist of fate, since it always, up to this point, it's always been built up that Shigaraki is the big bad of the season, or not in season, the show. He's the big bad that everybody has to take down and defeat. But then Deku's here being like, even if he might not want to be saved, I want to save this guy because he looks like he needs saving. And honestly, that moment when Deku literally told that to all the other previous owners of One For All really did resonate with me, and how it was just overall was so good. And I don't know, I really did love the way Deku was handled this season, especially with the Vigilante arc, and how it's the first time I've thought his design actually as a hero actually looks cool. Like up to this point, I thought his design wasn't the worst, but it could have been a lot better. But in his like Vigilante form, dude, that outfit is so cool. Honestly, every single time I saw it, a part of me was just like, dude, that's so cool! Like, it really did look amazing. Even if it did make him look like a bit of a villain, it was still so awesome. And overall, I have nothing but praise for this season. Minus the first few episodes kind of leaving a more meh taste in my mouth, which makes this not a perfect 10. Overall, this season made me smile. It made me happy. And honestly, made me a bit sad too. It was such a well-handled season, and the fact that it's revealed that we're very close to the final battle, the final face-off of Shigaraki and All For One against Deku and everybody, and we even got a bit of a return from Stay, the hero killer. That was really nice. Just, we have so much coming towards us at this point, and I just want to see it all. This is the first time I've ever watched a season of My Hero Academia, and honestly, loved it. This has got to be my favorite season, and I love it so much. All the characters, even All Might gets development. I forgot to mention about All Might. Even All Might gets a bit of character development, where up to this point, after him giving up the final bit of spark he has with One For All, he ended up kind of leaving things to Deku and deciding to just work on helping Deku improve and be a hero. But in this season, he's reminded that just because he's no longer the hero he once was, doesn't mean he shouldn't try to at least be a hero. And I really like that. It's just like, oh man, there's so much I love about this season. It's hard to put it all into words, but it's such a great season. I think this has definitely got to be the best season of My Hero so far. And before I talk about reaching the conclusion of this, one more thing I want to mention is Lemillion. I am so happy he's back. I'm very excited to see that he's back. I'm glad that Eri was able to rewind his quirk and bring him back. Just one last thing I wanted to add, it was so good, and I'm so happy to see him back in action. I'm looking forward to seeing what he has in store next, because Lemillion, despite not being my favorite character in the show, is definitely up there as one of my favorites, and he's just a very fun character, and yeah. That's all I really have to say, so we're at the conclusion of this video, and what are my final thoughts? I really like this season. It does a lot of good stuff, trying to build up and include a lot of characters, showing off how much a lot of them have grown, and does such an amazing job at just keeping me entertained. It keeps me so enthralled in the story, and it's the first time I've been hyped for the next season of My Hero. It's the first time I want to see what happens next. It's the first time I want to see how things play out, and I loved it. I loved every single second of this. Well, again, minus the first few episodes, which were a bit more on the iffy side. Everything else I could not get enough of. And if I can get more of that in the next season, count me in, because honestly, I loved it. And that's why, even though this isn't a perfect season, it is by far the best season of My Hero I have seen so far. And that's why I give My Hero Season 6 a 9 out of 10. Phenomenal anime. It's a very high 9. Honestly, a lot of respect to it. Such a great season, and I'm looking forward to more. So, yeah, that's all I really have to say. So, thank you all for watching. If you're new to the JDC Anime channel, don't forget to subscribe. I was looking to Anime Fest channel, and I will see you all around. Peace!